Welcome to the Whole Systems Hospitality Podcast. This is our Responsible Supplier series, where we showcase companies and their products and services that are leading in sustainability and social impact. Today, we have with us Paul Marquez, Global Head of Specifications and Sustainability at XLERATOR. He's going to talk about their company and their made in the USA, state-of-the-art XLERATOR hand dryer. But first, let's look at a day in the life of paper towels. Most of us don't think twice about a paper towel. You pull one, you dry your hands, you throw it away. But what if that 10-second moment was actually the tip of a very large iceberg? That's what this is about. My name is Kathy Sue McGuire, and this is the Responsible Supplier series from Whole Systems Hospitality. We see clean hands, we see convenience, we see immediate disposal. What we don't see is everything that had to happen before that towel touched someone's hands, and everything that happens after it hits the trash. Every operational decision lives inside a larger system. Most of us just never zoom out far enough to see it. It starts here. A softwood tree. It grew from somewhere between 20 and 30 years. Decades of carbon capture, root systems, habitat, and it's harvested in minutes. Those long, strong cellulose fibers, built by nature for durability, get cut down, loaded up, and sent to a mill. At that mill, those logs are chipped, cooked under pressure, chemically treated, and bleached bright white. Energy, water, chemicals, all of this before a single paper towel has ever come close to a hotel restroom. From the mill, we move to the machine. Pulp, which at this point is 99% water, gets formed into sheets, dried on heated cylinders, embossed for absorbency, and wound up into massive parent rolls. Then it gets cut, wrapped, and shipped again. And then a guest washes their hands. They pull one towel, often two, sometimes three. 10 seconds later, it's in the trash. That's it. That's the use case. 10 seconds. Forest to landfill in less than 24 hours. A tree that took decades to grow becomes waste in seconds. And this happens in a mid-size hotel, hundreds of times a day, every single day. Now, I want to be clear about something. This isn't about guilt. This isn't about judging the decisions that have already been made. It's about systems. When a hotel chooses paper towels, they're not just choosing a product. They're choosing a supply chain. They're choosing a waste stream. They're choosing a labor load. They're choosing a cost structure that renews itself every single week. The question isn't whether to feel bad about it. The question is, once you see the whole system, do you still want to choose it? What if the decision wasn't about a product at all, but about redesigning the system? Long-term equipment instead of consumables, lower waste volume, lower labor demand, lower cost over the life cycle, better sustainability story, and an enhanced guest experience. That's what a hand dryer conversation is really about, not replacing a paper towel, but stepping out of a system that was never designed with your hotel's best interests in mind. That's what we're going to talk with you today about. This isn't a product pitch. It's a conversation about operational leadership and about what happens when the right people zoom out far enough to see the whole picture. If that's the kind of thinking you're interested in, let's go there. Let's explore that together. Let's see the transition. We just walked through the full life cycle of a paper towel, from forest to landfill, in under 24 hours. Now let's talk about what happens when a hotel decides to stop that cycle. I'm joined today by Paul Marquez. He's the Global Head of Specifications and Sustainability at XLERATOR. Welcome, Paul.
It's an honor to be here today. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be an ambassador today for XLERATOR.
We're glad to have you here. Now, Paul will be presenting us with a cost-effective and environmentally positive alternative.
But first, when I was doing some background to prepare for this interview, I was so impressed with your company's environmental and social responsibility commitments. I would really like for you to share them with our audience.
Appreciate that. Just recently, a few of us were just in Boston at Mission Hill, and it was at correct me if I'm wrong, the Thomas Johnson Community Center. It was a cooperative that we did with co-design marketing team. Did a phenomenal job, and just there's a lot that's going to be covered during this that talks about our commitment to sustainability. But when we talk about our commitment to the community, for example, we had these high school students join and they created these designs. It was so difficult for the judges to pick a winner, but a winner needed to be chosen. And she's actually going to Princeton, and she's going to be an architect in the future. So we help inspire her to create sustainable products, building products for the future. It's just a great way that Excel is connecting with the community and making sure that we have sustainability ambassadors in the future.
That's terrific to hear. Well done.
So we just don't walk the walk or talk the talk, excuse me. You can see that Excel Dryer is committed to sustainability, not just in providing a sustainable solution, but here are examples. We are LEED Gold building. We are almost, I believe we should have already received our well building certification, which is phenomenal because it's focused on the occupants. We are Green Globe folks as well. So it's not just us providing a sustainable solution, we're actually walking it as well. These are examples of that.
Those are excellent examples because they're the leading edge. They're top tier. That's gold standard for sure. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Excel takes the credit on that one. So this next slide here, it's one of the reasons why I'm super proud to be a member of this team. We are constantly leading the industry. And for those of you who may not know this, the environmental product declaration is only good for 5 years. Not only we were the first, so after 5 years, it expires and you have to do it again. So we're on our second generation life cycle. We did our second generation life cycle assessment, which means we have our second generation environmental product declaration. We are constantly the first to lead the way with the sustainability and transparency that is so important for all of us.
Wonderful.
These are some of the programs. Now, I apologize, just to be transparent, LEED V4, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think after April, all projects going forward need to be LEED V5. So please circle back. We will have the information. We've been working with USGBC so that we be recognized in the MEP category for LEED V5. There are some grandfather projects that are using LEED V4. So this is informative. If you are building a new hotel that may fall into that bracket, we do have a cheat sheet for volume 4. Well standard, building standard, a phenomenal tool as well. These are just examples of our commitment to sustainability and being transparent with our building product that we're providing for solutions. This is another example. Again, we were not just the first, but we're leading the way. And I'll tell you, health product declaration is not an easy thing to accomplish. And kudos to the marketing team. I know my colleague Deb spent a lot of time because you're getting people to try to, with your suppliers, to tell you what the secret sauce is. And, sometimes they don't want to tell you what the secret sauce is. But states like California wants to see this transparency. Massachusetts generally likes to follow behind California. We definitely did with their emissions. So even though California is leading the charge with requiring HPD for state projects and EPDs as well, understand that this trend, I don't think, is going away. And we're proud to say that, we're ahead of the curve when it comes to the commitment to making sure that we're transparent for a greener future.
That's important. It's very important, transparency, because there's a lot of greenwashing going on out there. So kudos.
Yeah, this connects. This is just a little slide here showing you about the well certification. Now, if you take a look at this picture, I think we've expanded the full breadth and bandwidth of how much we can expand. I think if I remember correctly, if I read the certificate of occupancy correctly, we can only go up. But again, another example of, just not talking the talk, but walking the walk. You can see all the solar panels on our roof. You can see the green there is the extension of the second edition, and the back with the solar on the back is the second edition. What you don't see in the body of the picture is our commitment and our partnership and collaborations with Best Bees out of Boston. Obviously, we know how important pollinators are to ensure that we all stay on this planet. But again, it's just an example. By the way, if anyone is ever around, we can potentially set up a tour and you can see the beautiful carpet that we have that was made from recycling fish nets.
That's the one that really stuck out for me. Go back a slide there, that flooring made from recycled fishing nets. That is very, very innovative. I love that idea. Something I'm going to keep in mind.
We thank you for bringing it back, Kathy. We do have a CEU, AIA, GPCI, and IDCEC, if I'm saying my acronyms correctly, course that does a phenomenal job of walking you through the journey that we had to become well certified and to meet all the requirements, the preconditions. So that's one big thing different between LEED and WELL. There's a big investment on conditions that need to be met in order to qualify for WELL. So if you are thinking about doing the WELL project, make sure you understand what the preconditions are before you make that commitment and discuss it with your client, or depending if you are the owner or the architect. It's a big commitment.
Good to know. Now, this is the solution. And I know you're going to explain the attributes of your hand dryer. So please continue.
Yes. So one of the things that I do want to say that this is the Cadillac for us, the XLERATOR. It was a industry changer. It was the first high-speed, energy-efficient hand dryer on the market, and we've been out there for about 25 years now. Now, one of the things that I want to note with our commitment to transparency, it's PCR dry time, which stands for product category rules. Long story short, the industry comes together and you agree on standards. So it's not my R&D team telling you that this is the result. This is the result based on a certain standard. For example, one of the things we needed to do as an industry is determine what are dry hands. So there's a lot of time and effort that went in there. And it's not us just blowing smoke saying it dries your hands between 8 and 12 seconds. Now, one of the great things about the fact that we're manufactured in probably, I want to say 90% base material source, and hopefully in the future soon will be 100 material source locally within the United States, is that you don't have to worry about if you have a deadline on a project. You're not going to get so far, these taxes on imports is not messing up our supply line. So that's important. And again, the cost savings, we'll go into that in a little bit more detail. But one of the interesting things about the electrostatic HEPA filter, that's what the E stands for, it's specifically that these were independently tested. 381 million viruses were thrown at these HEPA filters, electrostatic HEPA filters. And it removed 99.99% of all the viruses in the air, including the COVID virus. So I just want people to understand, when it comes to indoor air quality, the best thing you could do is have an HVAC system that has MERV 13 filters and make sure that those filters are being changed frequently. That is the best line of defense for indoor air quality. However, you always can have an additional indoor air quality filter by specifying the electrostatic HEPA filters, and it allows for more air and more particles to be attracted. Now, one of the questions, Kathy, that people usually ask is, well, okay, I got a filter. How often do I need to change that? Well, that's a difficult question to answer, Kathy, because sometimes it really depends on the indoor air quality there. And I'll give an example. We have a mall in Turkey that the air quality in that particular building requires that we're frequently changing the HEPA filter. So we had to go to R&D and say, hey, here's the challenge. We got really bad air. What can we do? Long story short, it's an example of our commitment to ensuring that whoever our customer or client may be, that we're going to find the best solution to overcome the challenges they may have in that space. But generally speaking, you wouldn't have to change that filter for a year. We also have a pre-filter that's going to extend the life of the HEPA filter, HEPA filter. And then you're going to receive LED lighting codes that's going to tell you when it's time to clean the pre-filter, what extends the life of the HEPA filter, and of course, any other type of maintenance that you may need as well. So I love it. It's definitely a great solution for saving trees.
Absolutely. And for public health.
No, one of the things that I'd like to share with you is the CDC's strongest recommendation to keep yourself healthy. In fact, it goes as far as saying, clean hands save lives, because that's number one thing we can do to ensure good health and the ones we love around us is making sure we keep our hands properly clean. And part of that process is making sure that you dry them, whether you choose a paper towel because of preference. Obviously, I would prefer that you do use a high-speed energy efficient hand dryer, because wet hands are 1,000 times more likely to spread germs. So the CDC is constantly educating to say clean hands save lives.
Yes, absolutely. So what do we have here? We're talking about the paper?
Yes. So full disclosure, I know this might come as a surprise, but I am what we refer to as a hybrid solution advocate. And why do I say that? Hands down, from a sustainability standpoint, from a cost saving standpoint, high speed energy efficient hand dryers is the best solution. However, it's very difficult, Kathy, to persuade someone to change their preference. So what I strongly recommend is that we minimize the amount of paper towels. Again, paper towels are a single use. They can't, and we got data that we're going to show you throughout these slides. You just can't, you can only use it once, right? However, though, there is a practical reasons besides drying your hands why sometimes you do also need paper towels in a restroom. You could spill something on your sleeves, you're perspiring. So there may be other reasons why. And one of the big reasons is I like to grab the paper towel to grab the handle on my way out. Not all of us have the best practices for proper hand hygiene, but putting that to the side, and just thought it was appropriate here to talk about the hybrid solution. The other reason why I'm so passionate about my job is that we are saving trees and water is polluted. And again, it's just a single use. You're only using that paper towel once, then you have to throw it away. So this is just giving you a little bit of information about the environmental impact, the trees that are consumed, the amount of water. We're not even getting into the carbon footprint on that because we're going to talk about it a little bit. But this is just a slide just to say we don't need to waste all those trees and papers. Yes, paper is important for other reasons, but let's minimize our carbon footprint.
Well, you're talking about it being a supplement, not part of your main diet.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a supplement to the hand dryer.
Kathy, excellent. Yeah, that's excellent.
You've got some real numbers to talk about here with some case studies. Let's see.
Yeah, and I took some notes because I don't want to get this one mixed up. So what we have here for you guys is we're just giving you some real actual data. And let me just take a look at my notes. So we're looking at 2 restrooms, 200 people washing their hands for 5 days a week, making some estimates. It's a C-folded paper towel that you purchase from Amazon, $40 a case, which equals to about 250 towels per case, averaging about 4 cases a week. So this is the data that you're looking at. So the annual cost for the paper towels is approximately $1,200, rounding that up. Can you see that bottom where it says 3 months? I just want to make sure because my screen's covered up. Long story short, you're looking at a payback approximately 3 months. One of the other things that I find, because I deal with these when we're not just renovations, but new builds as well, a lot of times what operations people or construction is, it depends on what ledger you're looking at. So when you're looking at this from a ledger of a new build, a lot of times we get value engineered out of the project, Kathy, because the paper industry will say, hey, I'll give you a free paper dispenser. And you're looking at that from that standpoint and you're saving X amount of dollars, but the operational cost, this isn't even talking about the potential clogged toilets. We got another example that I could show you, a little bigger example. We'll bring this up as well.
Yeah, let's see.
This is 4 locations, 6 restrooms, and the numbers go up a little bit larger. But the one thing that we're not really talking about here, Kathy, is plumbing costs, clogged toilet costs, the fact that a particular person may not be able to use the bathroom because the toilet's clogged. But again, you can see the ROI comes back a lot faster. Now, the disclaimer again, guys, don't forget, I'm a hybrid solution person. So I do think that the hybrid is the best solution. My ask would be to minimize the amount of paper dispensers in there. So these cost savings will vary depending on the cost used. So this is a very conservative number, but the environmental impact, the carbon footprint, there's no question whatsoever that this is the sustainable solution for your commercial restrooms.
Excellent. Yeah, noise is one of the things that, I've heard from other people. Oh my gosh, they're so noisy. Now, I know from having been in public restrooms um, many years ago, they were quite noisy. But I have noticed when I see your accelerator, that's like it's significantly lower. Tell us about that.
Interestingly enough, that continues to be an educational challenge that we have here.
Mm.
About 5 years back, the adjustable speed and sound control was an accessory. It wasn't a standard. We made that a standard. So on the right side of that unit that we're looking at, if you take the cover off, there are 3 knobs. One stands for motor, one stands for range, and the other one stands for heat, MRH. We can literally turn the volume down where the dBs is significantly low and quiet. For what I meant to say at the beginning is somehow dBs, decibels, is a default standard for sound, but we can lower the sound to the point, which is the speed of the air, which causes the sound that you're hearing, to
Mm.
where it's like quieter than adult conversation. So
Yeah.
it can be mitigated. The flip side, if you want to call it a negative externality, quote, is it does impact the dry time. But in some
Mhm.
locations, let's say you have this next to a library, you're not necessarily in a rush to dry your hands fast anyways. So
Yeah.
mitigating the sound by turning the volume down, which continues to be a big pain point for folks because the acoustics in the restroom can also contribute to the sound. But do understand that all of our solutions, all of our hair dryers have that option to mitigate and find that sweet spot for you. So yes, Kathy, that continues to be a question. The 1.1 noise reduction nozzle, as you can see, itself without even using the knob does its job, lowering it by 9 dBs. So there are options there. And truth be told, the quietest dryer we have on the market today, which we don't have it on the screen presently, is the Accelerator Sync Deck mounted hand dryer because that has patent pending hose connection that makes that the quietest dryer on the market today.
Well, what I like about this is that you're giving your customers choices, as it pertains to their type of business, whether it be a library where, things are very quiet or in a noisy location, restaurant on the turnpike or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think the slide kind of speaks for itself here, Kathy. I mean, we kind of talked about some of these things already. One thing that I'll mention is just that there are options. This could be ADA with a recess kit. We do have ADA wall mounted. The wall protectors are something that if someone has our dryers and maybe is concerned, it's a high volume and there's water because the dryers do blow the water to the back, so which means it's going to hit your wall. So if that's a high usage, the wall guards is definitely something to help keep the grout clean and help to mitigate the water from hitting the floor.
Good idea.
In the future, we do have some solutions coming for that. At the end of the day, the best solution, though, if you are concerned about water on the floor, is our deck mounted hand dryer. We've paired that with a bowl to ensure that all the water stays in the bowl. Just something to talk. Maybe we can have a podcast on that in the future, Kathy.
Absolutely. Well, it looks like you're coming out with many products and many variations on your products and options. I think that would be a great idea to let our audience know.
So what you're looking at here is, I believe this is from the East Long Meadow High School, but I could be incorrect. It reminds me of one of the beauty shots we took. So ADA compliance is a big thing, guys. And my understanding is a blind person cannot walk into it. So you don't want to have this on a wall where a blind person potentially walk into it. So hence it cannot protrude more than 4 inches. In fact, it has to be 3 inches and 15/16. Just make sure everybody knows that. And we do have an ADA wall mounted solution. However, if it's high volume and you can go with the recessed kits, I personally, from an aesthetic point of view, prefer this. It brings me back to an earlier conversation during this podcast today when we were talking about co-design. So we did a program with Artists of Humanity, which is a additional nonprofit out of the city of Boston. In fact, they're the largest teenage employers in the city of Boston. And I believe
Oh,
they have 160 students that come in there. Fast forward, we commission them to create some custom art. And I bring it up because that custom art or any type of customization, we can put on these custom dryers and it looks so artistic and so cool that I should have, I wish I had, I'm so much on the road that I really get a chance. There's a couple of things I may have changed on this deck, but that would have been a picture that I would love to share with you guys. And it kind of supports our commitment to the community and sustainability and supporting nonprofits so that we have, future designers with transparency and sustainability top of mind. And that's what that program does, Artistry Humanity. It helps get these kids into college, and we commission them to create some custom art. Maybe on another day, Kathy, I could share that with you guys.
Yeah, we'd love to see it. I love the customization idea and the community impact that it has.
Okay, this is important. And I love the fact that I just gave you guys a disclaimer that I am a hybrid solution advocate because, again, it's very difficult to change someone's personal preference. However, if we can educate them on the sustainability attributes, or I don't like to speak bad about paper because I do think you need paper for other reasons in the restroom. Like I said earlier,
yeah.
besides drying your hands, I don't recommend you do that. But what you're looking at here is this is coming from our life cycle assessment. It's the
Hmm.
second life cycle assessment that we've done. So if you really want to read and understand and get deep into the weeds, we have a white paper. This is on our website. This is science backed. And there's no question from an environmental standpoint, we are better for the environment. And again, paper towels are single use, even compared to recycled paper towel. And I think we have a chart on that. Am I correct? If my mind. Any questions on this slide before? I mean, this just really shows you guys how important and how big of an impact you can have by minimizing your carbon footprint, by moving. And again, this is based on no paper towels, but even with just minimizing it, it still has a strong impact. You're avoiding acid rain, water pollution, and, quality of air, like I talked about in the situation in Turkey.
Well, you know what's so significant about this, if you'll go back to that slide, is that not only are you sharing that with us, you're actually taking the time to track this information, to get the data so that you can share it. So many times there are companies out there, we minimize our carbon footprint. Well, how? Well, we do it by doing such and such. Where's the data? By how much? From when? And so most companies do not provide this. So again, you're working for and representing a great company that's doing all the right things. And that's why I'm so pleased that you're sharing this information with us today. So please continue.
Thank you, Kathy. Yes, life cycle assessments they do involve a lot of effort. There's a lot of information that needs to be provided, and you want to use a certified party as well. So we're proud of that, and we'll continue to lead the industry in that. And thank you for recognizing that.
And you have some awards. Tell us about them.
Yes, yes. So one there is from Ecuador, and the other one here is from sustainability. This validates our commitment to sustainability. My colleague Chris DeGray, there's way more awards that we've won, but these ones are specifically related to sustainability. But our team does an excellent job to make sure we're letting the greater public know of putting ourselves out there to educate. And when you do that, this is the result of that. So it's not just us saying it. You can see we have awards to back what we're saying.
Yes, and can I tell you a little story?
Please.
I was in a restroom. I don't know if it was at a hotel or an airport, but on the lower left, it had the plumbing fixtures look like that. And I washed my hands, and then I looked around for the paper towel dispenser or the hand dryer, and there wasn't one. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? There was some other woman in there, and she goes, it's right there. You put your hand under or that. I'm like, no way. I was so shocked by that. A little embarrassed too that I hadn't figured it out on my own, but I thought that was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Kathy, do you remember the TV show The Jetsons?
Yeah.
It was a cartoon. I tell my kids I'm living the Jetsons, right? So they didn't have this in the Jetsons. They didn't think of that, but I bet you if they would have, this is a
Yes,
great. I'm glad you put spotlight and that you put a spotlight on the accelerator sink. This
yes,
is the evolution of commercial
yes.
hair drying. I do feel that addresses the main pain points that we've heard from designers with regards to wall mounted hand dryers. I mean, the accelerator all day is still the best. The specification rates that we have confirm that this is still the number one specified hand dryer globally. However, in maybe a few years' time, you're going to see that the accelerated deck mounted hand dryer, especially in hospitality and airports, those channels tend to like the higher end version. Now, what's great about the deck mounted hand dryer, which I'm going to focus my time on here, real quickly though, the accelerator eco, before I jump onto the accelerator sink,
Hmm.
why that is a plus is that there's no heat element. Generally speaking, Kathy, all our units need a dedicated 20 amp circuit. However, the Eco only pulls 4.5 amps. So that allows you to put more than one on a dedicated 20 amp circuit. So that's a great solution if your client or a owner or property manager is having issues, but they want to move with hair dryers, but they have limited capacity on their circuit panel. This may be a solution for that, where you're capitalizing on the fact that you don't have the bandwidth on that particular panel. Moving forward to the latest and greatest, which you mentioned, you shared a beautiful story there. We can engrave those on the top. So we have done that for some clients. We like to think it's intuitive, left to right, so that, you wash your hands first, put the soap, the water, and
My
then the
mind was
dryer.
somewhere else. I'm sure I was just it was just it's kind of an automatic thing. You got to wash your hands and then you go left or right to after you wash. Yeah, I was just on autopilot, wasn't paying any attention.
So it's great though, because I was speaking earlier about some of the pain points. Some interior designers have not been very keen of the design of the accelerator hair dryer because that's just, they don't want it in the eyesight, or they think
Mhm.
it's not as aesthetically pleasing to the eye. Sound has always been a concern. And for high volume areas, water on the floor can be a concern. Grand Central Station is that picture right there that we're looking at. And by the way, 10,000 people a day use that restroom, and they
Wow.
have zero paper towels in there. So that's just an indicator of how dependent of a solution the accelerator is. But the accelerator sink deck mounted hand dryer it's so more elegant. It's the quietest dryer I mentioned earlier we have on the market. And the
Mhm.
important thing is that it's been designed to work in concert with the bowl to ensure an elevated end user experience. We'll go in there, put our hands in there. All the water stays in the bowl. It's hard to kind of show from the image, but the ear is going to the back of the bowl. So when you normally, Kathy, when we go to dry our hands in this type of apparatus, we'll put our hands in. And if the ear is blowing straight down, which I have to confess, there are some manufacturers out there that the spout does do that, there's a propensity potentially for the water to spill out on you. So we're a disruptive model. We kind of learn from some of the pains that other manufacturers had. And we're confident that this is the future of commercial restroom design. And I hope that your hospitality clients and prescribers and listeners really take that into account, because it is beautiful. It's practical, and it's part of a whole D13 integrated sink system solution.
Well, what I'm so impressed with, as I mentioned before, is that it a lot of companies, as I've mentioned, maybe they have a sustainable product. It's made of sustainable materials, whatever, but their company isn't, or their building isn't, or the way they treat their employees and what they provide for their employees. But you have it, Excel Dryer has it from A to Z. You've got a great building, a healthy building. You take care of your employees. You're concerned about their well-being. You do lots of R&D to make sure you can provide the best product out there, whether it's the way it looks, the way it performs, and that it's ADA compliant, can come in different colors, and your commitment to the artists, the local artists, to help you design some of these. It's like having your car wrapped kind of thing. You can have your hand dryer wrapped in all this different art. And so you do everything. You have lots of different products, for different kinds of companies. So you've really, I I have to admit, you're the only company that I know of that's doing everything the way it was intended to be done, the right way.
You're making me blush, Kathy. Stop it.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Excel Dryer. I appreciate you so much. I look forward to having another conversation because I'm already thinking about some other things, and I know you have too, to where we can have further discussion on this that we haven't covered today. But Paul
So,
Marquez, thank you very much for joining me.
Kathy, just a thank you, just a couple closing comments. I would be
Sure.
remiss not to offer if there's a hospitality, a client or listener, facilities folks, we are so confident in the satisfaction that you will get from the integrated sink system or even one of our wall mounted hand dryers on minimizing your carbon footprint, taking your commercial restroom to the next level from an aesthetics point. We'd like to offer some free trials. So I hope that those listening to this, if they see this as a potential solution, that they'll reach out to us. I think there's
Yes.
there it is. Yep,
Yes.
there's
Here
our
we go.
information there. Please reach out and mention the podcast with Kathy, and we'd love to give you a free trial. And Kathy, I also want to plant the seed. I think we should consider maybe another podcast just talking about the custom covers and the partnerships that we've done. I'd love to maybe have some of the students talk about the vision that they had with their art. I think it's a great thing, and it really supports Excel Dryer's commitment to the community and future leaders of the United States. So maybe I'm just planting a seed and check in with the marketing team, but I'd love to circle back and maybe interview some of these students and see how we inspired them on this journey of sustainability and making sure that the planet stays green. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate this honor being an ambassador today.
Absolutely. And we'll put your contact information and everything that everyone needs to know in the show notes. And so we're going to talk in just a minute about setting up another interview. So stay tuned. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the Whole Systems Hospitality Podcast. And I can tell you that Excel Dryer is a whole systems thinking company.